welcome to the sideboard here for the Columbus Open Weekend, part of Season 1 of the SCG Tour, brought to you by the awesome people over at Ultimate Guard. I'm Cedric Phillips. I'm playing the role of Nick Miller here this weekend on the sideboard because it's underneath the weather, and you're Ryan Overturf playing the role of Ryan. Ryan Overturf, now the commentator of the player this weekend?
Yeah, alternate persona.
Well, you know, last time we saw you play, you top-8 with Grixis Delver. You know that, right?
Well, that's close to true.
Did you not top-8?
I top-8 at that tournament,
okay.
But that wasn't the last time you saw me play.
When's the last time we saw you play?
I was playing a really bad Fever Visions deck in Standard.
I blocked that out.
All right, that's fair.
So the last time you played...
I should have let it ride.
Yeah.
Factual accuracy is important to me.
Okay, so the last time you played, you lost horribly.
Yeah.
Okay, but this time's going to be different, right? Because you have a Grixis control deck in a brand new standard form with bandings, and you're doing really well.
Close.
Okay.
I got to win.
That's more than no wins.
3 points. We're off to a start. We got to start.
Ryan Overturf is playing a Grixis control deck here this weekend in Columbus. I ran into you before the tournament started.
Yep.
You kind of told me what's going on with your deck, which is a lot of spells, a couple Dynavolt Towers, a couple Torrential Gearhawks. So tell me, before we get to kind of individual cards, how you came to this idea for the weekend.
So basically, this is very close to the deck that Joe Lissette played at the Kaladesh Pro Tour.
Okay.
He went 8-2 with the deck, and it's really good at interacting. Generally, of course, Shota Yasuoka wins that Pro Tour with another similar deck, no Dynavolt Towers. But I pick up the towers, I like them. In a lot of games, you just kind of jam it. If it resolves, you do whatever. Counter all your opponent's spells, kill other creatures, eventually you win. Big fan of winning eventually.
Sure, so I mean you have a ton of interaction. You've got some card drawing with Glimmer of Genius and Anticipate. You've got a lot of removal, Incendiary Flow, Shocks, Harness Lightnings. Like your plan is basically just kill their stuff, and as you mentioned, just kind of kill them eventually. But let's talk about the Dynavolt Towers, because previously players didn't have them, you have them now. Why do you like them?
A big change that happened in the format now is that it's a really good on-the-board answer to the Jeskai, Saheeli Felidar Guardian counter.
Sure, okay.
You just have the tower active with 5 energy. If they lower the Saheeli's loyalty to 3 or lower, you shock them, it's dead. Okay,
that makes total sense. Now, it does kill other things, I imagine, but is that like it's good in the control mirror, I know that, but is that the kind of the primary reason is because the Saheeli combo is going to be so prevalent this weekend, most likely, that you just wanted to have a clean answer to that?
I felt really good in control mirrors in general being the tower deck, and then now that their deck is full with a bunch of air, like Saheeli's not really a card, so they have a bunch more of that, and I have an on-the-board trick against it, so I felt really well positioned there. Okay.
You have a new card in your deck, it's Disallow, which for you old school players out there is Void Slime. Counter spell, counter trigger, counteractive ability, so it's like Stifle plus counter spell rolled into one. Like I said, Void Slime from many, many years ago. You've got 4 copies, so obviously you like this card.
Yeah, this card's excellent. Just as the counter spell, it's really good. You don't really need to exile too many things. Now that Green-Black Delirium is functionally banned with Emrakul leaving the format, exiling doesn't matter a whole ton. And one thing about this deck is in the blue mirrors, a number of people will have access to Ceremonious Rejection. So I want to tone down on colorless things because it's already going to be good against my tower. I really don't want to lose Counter Wars to that card as well. Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's talk about a card that's pretty ubiquitous in all of these type of decks. That's Torrential Gearhawk. Still as good as advertised? Excellent. Card, it's the best. It's one of the best cards in the deck. It's hard to say best because it's a role player. It requires instants in your graveyard. A lot of times you just pass with 6 mana up, but when you cast it, it's always good.
You're killing people with that, with Tower, with Wandering Fumarole. Like you said, you're winning eventually. Do you ever find it difficult once you kind of get control of the game to actually win the game?
No. I've had all my towers killed. I've had multiple Gearhulks killed. You just fumarole them. Actually winning the game is not the problem. The problem is your opponent killing you in a way that you can't interact with. Okay, well, we saw that in round 1 when you played against Metalwork Colossus. Something your deck actually has some difficulty with. But last card I want to mention in the main deck, because realistically you're mostly blue-red. You got this splash for To the Slaughter. A card that has seen some play in Delirium strategies, a 1 of, a 2 of, depending on what the metagame looks like. You've got 3 in the main, so let's talk about that. So one thing that this is really good against, I want to have my main deck full of removal, but I want a lot of fatal pushes, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't kill, namely Planeswalkers, To the Slaughter can deal with very cleanly. Another card that I don't know how popular it's going to be this weekend, but it's been huge on Magic Online, post-banning, pre-Aetherable, is the Energy Beatdown deck. And Bristling Hydra is really hard to get off the table.
Yeah, for your deck, it's, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's pretty difficult. So To the Slaughter is clean for that. And Grixis strategies generally have some difficulty with Planeswalkers too, so this lines up pretty well. Take a look at the sideboard. You've got a lot of counter spells. You've got 4 Ceremonious Rejection, 4 Negates, 3 Scatter of the Wind, starting to go with 4 Disallows. So you're really transforming honestly, and I don't want to leave out the Summer Dismissal either, into kind of just a counterspell deck.
Yeah, I have just so much red removal in the main deck. The idea is that I'll be most live against a lot of the matchups, and some of the matchups is kind of a mulligan. In Control Mirrors, a lot of them just have Felidar Guardian, so I can kind of cast the red spells, but I really want the counterspells post-board. There's going to be a functional upgrade there, and against any kind of wonky combo decks, a lot of weird stuff in Kaladesh. If they're casting the Statuary, things like that, I want a lot of counterspells for those decks.
Okay. Other sideboard cards, another to the slot, another Fatal Push, and a Kozilek's Return. Kind of against the aggressive strategies, obviously. So I ask you this before we put a close on this deck tech. What do you want to play against with this deck this weekend?
Give me the Jeskai Saheeli combo every round. I think I'll go undefeated.
What do you not want to play against this weekend?
Colossus again, ever.
Okay. That one seems obviously very difficult. And as you mentioned before we went live, Lost Legacy doesn't even take care of it. No, it's not an artifact creature.
It's not an artifact. It doesn't solve any problems that this deck has.
Well, that's unfortunate.
It is.
You're going to have to find a way to beat that deck, which is probably just not compared against it.
I would really like Cranial Extraction, but it's arcane, so you can't reprint a card like that.
That's true.
You know,
there are many variants of that card.
Thought Hemorrhage, I guess.
Ugh, no thank you. I don't want to see that one come back. This is Grixis Control. This looks like a pretty good control option. I know there's Jeskai, there's Esper. You're rolling with this. I like the plan for this weekend. If you get paired against Jeskai, Saheeli, which I think you got paired against last round, pretty easy.
Very easy.
Well, if you guys are looking to beat that deck, this is a great place to go. Ryan, before we do end this, do you want to do a shout out? Do you want people to follow you on Twitter? This is your chance to say whatever you want for about 10 seconds.
You can check me out at Ryan Overdrive on Twitter.
Okay.
I think I'm a pretty funny guy. Talk about magic. Maybe you want to check out my store if you're a Minneapolis resident.
There you go.
Lodestone Coffee and Games.
I was literally pitching you to do this.
If you live in Minneapolis, you already know us.
Okay. Oh, nice.
We'll see you there.
All right. That is Ryan Overturf. I am Cedric Phillips. Stay tuned for more action here from the Columbus Open Weekend.